Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Tina. Today I am going to share with you the process of making the pattern for my space cardigan from my capsule wardrobe, or as I would like to call it, my travel wardrobe. And the space cardigan, well, I'll show you some pictures here. It's just a sort of ordinary cardigan, the base for it, but I added quite a few special details. My inspiration was sort of on the road to space suit, and maybe I actually achieved a little bit of that look. And so maybe some of you have been waiting for some time, and that is because this took time to make. And I decided to share most details of both the pattern making and the sewing, because if you feel inspired by this cardigan and want to try to make something like this for yourself, you might need to see a bit of the details of how I did it. It wasn't very complicated, but it just took a lot of time, but I am so happy with the result. So let's just dive right into it. So here you can see my inspiration pictures. And when I talk about space suits, I don't mean the actual real space suits that are used for real or in science fiction movies. I'm more into this type of material. It's ribbed, it's striped. I guess you could say that it's more the quilted material that I am inspired by. These lines or stripes of padding that you can see that are used to be at least pretty typical for spacesuits, but you can find, of course, quilted fabric sort of everywhere. And through history, it has, of course, been used to keep you warm with the padding between different layers of fabric. It has been used for decoration, and it has also been used for protection. For example, in armor, if you pack these materials very tightly together, you can make the material almost impossible to push like a sword or an arrow through it. So these are a few of the things that I am inspired by for this specific cardigan. The general shape of the cardigan, it will just be pretty long and with pretty broad shoulders, because I am placing these decorations on the shoulders, or actually the shoulder blades on the back of the shoulders. They do sort of resemble wings, actually, these decorations, but you will see for yourself. For now, I am loosely inspired also by this fashion style that you could call I do love the name apocalypse chic, because it tells it all, doesn't it? And I do find it a little bit cool looking. And as you can see, I have clearly collected a lot of inspiration for this project. That is usual. I do love looking at pictures and thinking about things I want to make based on those pictures, but actually sketching a lot and going through a lot of different ideas for one single project, that is actually not the way I usually work. But I guess I just had collected so much inspiration in this case that I really couldn't sort it out in the mind. So I had to collect all of these ideas, because I had started sketching, all over the place on every little piece of paper I could find. So in the end, I cut all these little drawings out and put them into this little book that is now dedicated to this travel wardrobe project. And I kept on drawing, and I kept on trying out ideas for the design that I'm going to make on this shoulder piece, this wing piece, you could call it. It's like a little wing of the shoulder, which I guess subconsciously made me design sort of like a wing design on my back, which could be a little cringe. I mean, angel wings on the back of your jacket. But I decided it's cool, and that's it. And the sleeves, here I made this decoration follow the shape of the arm, bent at the elbow, and they turned out really cool. And when all the sketching was done, it was time to start experimenting a little bit with these decorations that I'm planning. I found a yarn, cotton yarn, that is very soft and a little bit squishy. Squishy. I think it will be just perfect. And my only fear is that it will shrink in the laundry, because I couldn't really think of a way to pre-wash 150 meters of yarn. But I fear that I should have done that. But here we are, living on the edge. So now I am bringing out my sketches and my cardigan that I have made earlier from a pattern that I have. And I'm going to use this pattern as a base for this design. I am marking with pins the lines that I am planning for this new design. This is the front pocket. The front is going to be divided horizontally in several places, and here on the diagonal is the pocket opening. And I'm transferring these markings to the old pattern pieces by feeling where the pins are, more or less. And I'm going to clear up these lines and draw them in with a ruler later, but these are just simple sketches to start with. So here I am copying these pattern pieces to new pattern paper. I am making the neck hole more narrow because it was just too big on the old cardigan. Here I'm drawing in the raglan sleeves that I'm creating, and here's the center front, which stays the same. I am changing the position of the bust dart, and that is because it will get in the way for the design lines. It also needs to come up higher, which is a thing I learned from my earlier cardigan. And this is the thing. If you are creating a design where you find that the bust dart gets in the way, you can move it to another position anywhere on the garment, create your design, and then later on move it back to its original or a new position. This is a bit complicated to show in this video, but I can make a separate video on how you do that at another occasion if you would like to. One thing I am doing here is that I'm raising it up really high, and that is because this is jersey. The bust point I am placing actually above my bust point, my apex, because I know that this garment will stretch out. And here I am marking out the lower dividing seam at the center front, the bottom of the pocket, and here's the pocket opening. And here you see me marking the piece of the front that would later turn into the raglan sleeve. My next step is working on the cuff at the bottom of the cardigan. It has a rounded shape in front, and I'm just sort of winging it here. The cardigan is gathered a tiny bit to this cuff, very, very little, and I'm trying it out here, and it looks the way I want it to. So now I have these pattern pieces done too. I just need to cut them out. I never add seam allowance to my pattern pieces. It's just a habit from since I studied pattern design in school, and everyone can do as they please. And of course, this front piece is made out of several smaller pieces that I will cut apart and cut separately from the fabric. But before I cut everything apart, it's a good idea to sort of do a try on in front of the mirror. Is everything placed where I want it to be? To me, it looks good, so I am going ahead with this. Now, I am trying to show you here what I mean with moving the dart. Before I tried this in front of the mirror, maybe you saw me tape this dart together. Now, when I cut along this design line that passes through the apex, and the dart is taped together in another position, this will form a new dart. Do you see it? It is between the shoulder piece, the top piece of the sleeve, of the front, and the middle piece of the front. Okay, so now we're moving on. And before cutting everything apart, I am copying these pocket pieces, because fabric will of course be double here to have an inner and an outer layer of the pockets. So this is the pocket edge here that I'm cutting first, and secondly the top layer, the visible layer of the pocket in the front. And here you see them all fitted together as they will be placed when they're done. I'm marking everything properly because you can so easily get confused. I'm writing side seam, up, down, and so on almost every pattern piece. Now we are moving on to the back pieces. Here I am marking out the centerpiece, this one long line from top to bottom of the back that is a separate piece, and the shoulders and the side seams and the sleeve openings. And perhaps you see that I have already changed the neck opening to be more narrow, closer to the neck, just as I did on the front piece. They do have to match after all. And now I am working on this wing piece. I don't want to call it a wing piece, but I guess that's what it is. It's like a little wing on the top of the shoulder. This will sit on the outside of the raglan sleeve. It will be a loose, open shoulder piece, whatever. Well, back to something that we do understand. Now I am working on the bottom cuff. It will be divided in two places in the back, one on each side of the butt, to be exact. And therefore I'm cutting this one in three pieces, one for each side and one for center back. And next step, I am working on the hood. Now I am spending quite a bit of time working here and being very careful and designing it very thoughtfully, but in the end there wasn't enough fabric for it, so in the end I didn't use it. Spoiler. Sleeves, on the other hand, was quite necessary, so let's work on those. Unfortunately, I did lose the footage of creating these raglan sleeves, but here instead we have my design ideas. I have drawn in the details I want to make on this shoulder wing, and beneath that shoulder wing is the raglan sleeve, and here you see them placed on top of each other because I want this design detail to sort of flow seamlessly from one to the other. And here are the actual sleeves. The front of the sleeve is towards the bottom of the picture, and the elbow is pretty pointy. You also see the design lines, the yarn design lines I have drawn in. Here's the wing piece for the shoulder. I am making very careful notes to make sure that I know what goes where. Here's the shoulder dot, and now I am placing all the pieces together to make sure that I have full control over the pattern. This is the back. As I said, it is a long, narrow piece at center back. Then we have the piece that goes under the yoke wing, and the middle parts and the bottom parts, and also the cuff at the bottom. And now we are getting very close to a finished pattern here. But first I have a question for you. Do you like this video? Maybe you should give it a thumbs up. I would love that. And you could also consider subscribing. I would love that too. Thank you. And here is the final question, and that is, do you think this cardigan will turn out as my sketches? Well, you will have to wait for the next video to find out, but I can give you a little bit of a spoiler and telling you that I absolutely love the finished product, and I am calling this cardigan Murano because I was planning to go to Venice, right? And Murano is a very important part of Venice. See you in the next video. Bye bye.